Hello and welcome from cloudy Zagreb. Happy New Year everybody, and thank you everybody for following my video blog and for being here with me. Today I'm going to talk about a new topic. I'm going to switch the slide, which is SkipIfBusy. It is a very easy topic, and if you ask me what this is about, well, SkipIfBusy is a parameter on a method. So I'm going to spend a session talking about one single parameter of one single method. How cool is that? Well, but if it wasn't important, I wouldn't be doing that. It all started with this innocent tweet from Eric Hugard a couple of months ago when he was struggling with this, and I'm going to read the question. So the question says, if you use the SkipIfBusy parameter on invoke extensibility method, how do you see if it is skipped? And this actually triggered me into trying to help him. He eventually picked a different route, but this tweet actually made me consider starting my video blog. So in a way, the reason why I'm here might be this tweet, because this was a topic I wanted to cover once, even though it is a very short topic, and I didn't want to start off with that. So this is a very short topic. I'm not going to talk for an hour today. It's going to be more like 15 minutes or so. And during those 15 minutes, I'm going to present what SkipIfBusy is, what it does, and why this question actually is very relevant. Where does this parameter belong? It is a parameter of Microsoft.dynamic.nav.invoke_extensibility method. So this is a method that you invoke from JavaScript when you want to invoke an AL function. And this is something I've covered in my first from JavaScript to AL and back session a month ago. So if you want to learn more about this method, I suggest that you actually check that one out. That time I didn't spend any time talking about SkipIfBusy. I didn't cover it. I mentioned what it is, but I didn't explain why it's relevant and how to properly handle that. So this is what this session is going to be about, and I'm just now going to switch to my code and let's demo away. As usual, here I have a repo. Unfortunately, this repo is not yet available on my GitHub. I'm going to do that immediately after this session. So just let me take a sip of my tea. I'm still suffering from my winter cough. It's absolutely not corona. I actually got tested and I'm negative, but I do have troubles. Actually, anytime I talk, it starts irritating me. So I'm going to try to make it, actually to survive through this session. So what do we have here? The first thing that we have is this demo card, which is simply just a card that has one simple control, and this simple control has this make busy trigger. This comes from my control-in, and the only thing it does is it makes AL runtime sleep for 2 seconds. So when JavaScript invokes AL will go to sleep for 2 seconds. Good. Let's take a look at the control-in itself. So it's a very simple one. We request 200 by 200 square. We stretch as much as possible, as much as page allows us, and then we declare this make busy event. This make busy event will be actually this trigger in the page. Whenever JavaScript invokes it, this will respond. I have some style sheet. I'm not going to show it. You will see what it looks like. And then I have this startup script, which is extremely simple. It has this start method. So I'm using it merely to be able to start a rendering user interface after the page loads. There is no other reason why I did it this way. And then last is this content.js, and this is the most important script. Every piece of important JavaScript code today will reside inside of that one. So let me actually take a look at this content.js. I'm going to close these two. They will not change throughout my session. They will be the same, nothing changes in them. I will only ever touch this one. And let me actually zoom a little bit in so that you can better see this code. So this start function is where it all starts. This is the function that is called by the control-in when it loads. And what do I have here? So let's actually not spend too much time trying to figure out what is going on in here. This is a typical demo that I always show in my Control It in workshops. And I'm simply going to run that and show what it does. So I'm going to sign in to my Docker. And then this is what is going on. And now I'm going to go back into my code. I'm going to let this run and I'm going to explain what is happening. So what I do at the beginning, I actually prepare some user interface. So this get log line, it actually returns me a logging function that I'm going to use to log what's happening. And that function is in charge of all user interface. It actually logs lines on screen. If you take a look at here, every single line here comes from that get log line. So this function receives a string to show, and then this is true, like it says that it's whether or not to add extra line. It's totally irrelevant. What is relevant is this. So I do set interval, and set interval is built-in JavaScript function, which calls a function every specified number of milliseconds. And this number of milliseconds is apparently 1000. So every 1000 milliseconds, I'm going to first check if AL is busy. There is this Microsoft.dynamics.nav.getEnvironment method, which returns a reference to environment. And then I check if environment is busy, then I would just print this method invocation is skipped. And if environment is not busy, then I would invoke this makeBusy method. And then what happens? A very interesting thing. I invoke Business Central, AL, and I tell it sleep for 2 seconds, but I do it every 1 second. So it means every time I call it, I have 50% likelihood that it will actually be busy because the other invocation didn't yet finish. And this is exactly what we can see here. So first time I invoke, it responds and says, okay, response was received, but next two invocations are saying that this invocation is skipped. And then again, I receive a response, then twice it's skipped, etc., etc. So why is it not like even odd, like one this, one of this? Well, simply because of lag. Even though AL takes 2000 milliseconds to sleep and JavaScript calls every 1000 milliseconds, there is 2 layers in between, which actually slow it a little bit down, so it's not exactly mathematically correct. I didn't want to spend any time trying to synchronize it. What is important is this, to see that I'm actually not invoking every time. I'm deciding to skip. So the funny thing is I actually call it every time, except I say skip if busy. And this skip if busy will tell me if it was actually skipped or not. So let's try to change this skip if busy to false. And let's see what is going to happen then. I'm first going to stop this and I'm going to run this demo again. So now as you can see, oh no, did I actually save that? Let me see. I'm saving this, stopping this, and then I'm going to run that. Am I getting anything? Not yet. Let me run it again. Yeah. Okay, so I'm invoking method. And yes, of course, I skipped. I didn't pay attention to what's happening. So it says AL is busy, but you can see that all of them are being invoked. So even though AL is busy, I'm bombarding it with a new request every second, and it takes 2 seconds to execute all requests. So you can see that I'm getting response in succession. So each request gets response exactly synchronized, like or actually not synchronized, but in chronological order. So, but you know, AL is more busy than JavaScript. JavaScript just asks like this question, and then AL has to respond, and it takes a long time to respond. And this is what I get. In fact, I'm not skipping anything. So this is the functionality of SkipIfBusy. This is something that will happen if you keep bombarding AL with more requests and it is busy. So when you say I'm not skipping if busy, and you keep sending requests, even though AL is busy, eventually you will get this waiting dialog, which actually prevents you to interact with the client. And the more you bombard it, the more work it has to do, it will be worse. Earlier versions of not Business Central, but Microsoft Dynamics Nav actually could crash. Like instead of getting this, like you would get this pretty soon, and then after a few seconds, it would just crash with the blue screen. It was fixed sometime, I think, in NAV 2018, and then the solution was correctly carried over to Business Central. So with Business Central, the runtime will not crash. It will sustain all that. Well, actually, I don't know if it would crash after 2 hours of constant bombardment, but when NST receives a request from JavaScript that it cannot process immediately because AL is busy, then it simply queues it up and then execute this queue in the first come, first served order. So, good. Let's go back to this code. And now it seems I've changed something. Yeah, I've changed this. I'm not going to change this interval. I could change it into something else. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to roll back my, my entire branch, and I'm going to switch to JS to AL and back branch. And the difference between this branch and the previous one is that here I have taken the solution that I proposed for invoking AL that I presented in my first from JavaScript to AL and back session. So what we get here is this getAL method. So I'm not invoking this directly. Instead, I've refactored my start function a little bit. So now my setInterval function is async, as you can see. So I have an async function, which does the same thing. So first, it still checks if it's busy, and then it stores whether it's skipped or not. And then if not skipped, then it shows one response. If skipped, it shows another response. So let's take a look. I'm going to run that. There is not going to be massive difference on screen. Essentially, it will be the same. So there we go. It's essentially the same output. I'm asking AL something every second, and it takes 2 seconds for AL to respond. So this is a typical expected output. I'm now going to do something with this getAL method. And the thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make it receive an extra parameter. And let me actually just immediately switch into my proposal, which is where I propose a solution, a correct solution to SkipIfBusy. So this method receives one extra parameter. It uses this old style C constant syntax because it is of a special type, and it is technically really a constant. It is of type symbol. I expect a variable of type symbol. So what is symbol? Symbol is a special type introduced in ECMAScript 2015 or ES5, where you can do things like this. And every invocation to symbol is actually results in a unique value. So for example, if you do this, that will always be true, but symbol equals, sorry, not 4 times, or better yet, strictly equals symbol is false. But symbol also does not loosely equal symbol. So every time you invoke symbol, you get a unique token that is guaranteed to be unique. No other invocation can ever return. So how we use symbols in JavaScript? Typically, use them for some kind of hidden stored identity where some function inside of itself. So this function, which you call once, I apologize, this one. I'm going to create a constant, which is skip token. And this constant is private to this function. So only this function knows the value of this token. So only this function can do a real equality check. And then I'm passing this token into my getAL method. And the reason why I'm passing it, I'm saying like, if I pass anything to you, then you SkipIfBusy and return this token to me. And this is what I do. I will retrieve a reference to my nav environment or Business Central environment. And then I'm going to do this inside my return promise. So it was different in my first session. I have added this chunk of code. So I check if SkipIfBusy, which means if I know this token, because SkipIfBusy, let me just do a run node once again to show you that yeah, I wanted to show this actually, it does return value, so it's never falsy. If it's present, it's always truthy. So this means that if I have passed a SkipIfBusy token, if I know it, and nav is busy, then I resolve my promise with SkipIfBusy, which means the invoker will receive this token back. And if it's not busy, then I invoke unconditionally, so I do not SkipIfBusy because I know nav is not busy at this point, so I invoke my extensibility method. Since I resolve my promise both in SkipIfBusy situation and not busy situation, it means I'm going to get result in either situation. So what I do from here is I create that token, then I create my method and pass that token to my AL method. And then every time I invoke my AL method, I say let result equals await make busy. So either this method will respond immediately with a token, or it will respond when AL has completely processed this, and then it would return whatever value AL returned. So this result can only equal skip token if the method invocation was actually skipped. And then what happens is I log a line, and then if it was busy, if it skipped, I update the line with method invocation is skipped. Otherwise, I simply say that response is received and I log the update to the line. Let me run this now and let's see what happens. Okay, I need to sign in. And then you can see this, like every third or every second, depending on how busy really AL is, method will yield a response and other two will immediately be skipped, and you will know their invocation was skipped. So from this, I'm going to switch back a little bit more to here because I want to reemphasize what am I doing and why exactly. The question that Eric has asked initially was essentially, if I call this and I want AL to skip if busy, how do I know it was actually skipped? And either you can do it the way I have done it here, you can decide not to call the method if you figure out yourself that environment is actually busy, or my proposal, which I believe is a better solution, you just call the method and let the method tell you either if it was busy and skipped, or it actually gives you the result of whatever AL should return to you. So with this, I'm returning back to my presentation, and actually it's not much of a presentation. I have actually covered everything I wanted to cover today. So this slide doesn't mean anything. It is just a kind of a placeholder for myself to know that I should skip to the Q&A now. So I see that there are some comments. Hi, Waldo. You might want to zoom in a bit. I don't know what I should have zoomed, maybe Business Central. I'm going to try zooming Business Central in, and let me see what, yeah, I could have. So next time I will remember to zoom in Business Central as well. Anybody else, any question, really, like, what do you think of my proposal here? Does it improve things, or does it make things unnecessarily complicated? What I believe is that it actually simplifies things. So when you say, like, I want a method, and then you invoke that method, you don't really need to do any checks. You simply receive a result, and you know that you will receive a result in all situations, and then, yeah, either it's the skip token or it's the actual result. So VS Code, but it was fine, no problem. But I did zoom in with VS Code, yeah. Come on, people. I get comments on my videos, thank you for doing this, I liked it, blah, blah, and all, but I would like to hear or see some questions and then try to answer them. I'm going to give you a minute, so and then if there are no questions, I'm just going to move into closing notes. So I'm going to take this as you don't really care about control events, or you don't have a clue what I talked about. So either is fine. Still, okay. No questions this time. Interesting, because I do see viewers, and it's actually 17 viewers, 16. Yeah, some people are coming and going. Well, in any case, I'm going to say thank you very much for joining me today. I'm going to do one final announcement of my Leveraging Git webinar that I'm going to do next week. You can still sign up on this address if you decide to. It's not free, unfortunately, but see if it's something you want to follow or not. Once again, I'm going to just check if there are any questions. So no questions. Well, in that case, I hope that you found today's session useful. Don't forget to subscribe, and thank you very much for joining me today.